around this storm. We have a flash flood watch that is in effect. Remember, a watch means we're watching the situation. It doesn't mean it will happen. It means it could happen. And that's why they've painted such a broad swath. And this now has been expanded to the north to include Durham County and Orange County and Alamance County. And as you get out toward the Triad, yesterday it had only worked its way up to Wake County, but now we're up into Nash, Franklin, and then into Durham, Orange, Alamance, Chatham County, Wake County, and all points south of there under this flash flood watch that is in effect now through Sunday. It was through Saturday, so they've extended it a day, and that's because we anticipate this heavy rainfall working through. If you're just joining us, it's just about to turn over to 3:30. We have a tornado warning until 3:45 for Halifax and Nash counties. That includes Castalia. That's what we're watching here. All of these little dots indicate wind reports that we're getting in. We're seeing wind gusts around the region along with this hurricane, and that's what's going on in that area. Tropical storm wind gusts of 45 miles an hour. That was reported Rocky Mount Wilson Airport about 11:45 last night. Goldsboro seeing those wind gusts that are high as well. At 9:49 last night, a 43 mile an hour wind gust reported Seymour Air Base, and those are just going to go up. We're going to see those getting higher and higher as we get deeper into this storm. There at Sampson County Airport, a report of high winds. And then in these areas down toward New Bern, Morehead City, we're seeing hurricane reports. Topsail Beach, overwash was reported. North Topsail Beach at Seaview Pier. I actually had a picture posted on social media from a friend of mine that took a picture of the water washing over the pier down at Topsail. So that's just heavy rainfall. There's an 80 mile an hour wind gust reported at Emerald Isle. We see a 96 mile an hour wind gust at Cape Lookout, so getting up around that 100 mile an hour range. And then those wind gusts continuing up to north. Steve, let's go back to that tornado warning, because now that we're past 3:30, I'm curious to see if they've extended it or if they've canceled. Good, they've canceled it for now. So they've canceled both for now. So that is good news. Both tornado warnings have now been canceled for that area, but there's still possible rotation and certainly some heavy wind gusts going on here north of Lewisburg, right in this area in southwestern. Look at that right there. That's still a problem. 401, it's just about to cross 401. I think that is an area of concern that we're going to have to keep an eye on in southern Warren County, and then working off toward Henderson and Kittrell. That area will work through, and we will be watching that. I would not be surprised to see if they issue another one on that as it continues to work in. We haven't had any confirmed reports of tornadoes, but certainly some rotation going on inside the storms up in southern Vance County. Now, we're caught up as far as the weather goes. To my producer who's working back behind the scenes, where would you like me to go? We can talk a little bit more about the storm. If we go back to, let's go back to Reset Weather 3. Perfect, Steve. Reset Weather 3, and we'll talk about the latest warnings we have going on right now. Okay, thank you. I want to do the warnings real quick, and then we will go over to John and Barbara. These are the latest warnings. So the tornado warnings now have been allowed to expire. That's the good news. Bad news is we've got tropical storm warnings that have been extended to the north now to include Franklin County, Wake County, and Chatham County. All of these counties in orange are under tropical storm warnings. We expect the winds to be 39 to 73 miles an hour sustained in those counties. Then we have a hurricane warning in effect from Wayne County to Sampson down to Bladen County. Those counties expect wind speeds 74 miles an hour or greater. Here's the satellite picture. Still has not made landfall yet. Getting closer, but unfortunately those steering winds, the winds that steer the system, have died out. So it's just going to sit and drift for a couple days, and that's just going to continue to pound the coast with high winds and lots of rainfall. We're going to reset everything and get the latest data into the Weather Center. Steve Stewart and I are working on that right now. We'll come back in just a bit, but right now we go back to John Clark and Barbara Gibbs.
All right, Don, thank you.
All right, well, as Don said, the eye of the storm probably won't make landfall till later today, but the Wilmington area has been battered by rain since before noon yesterday. Anna Rivera continues our live coverage from the coast in Wilmington. Anna, bring us the latest.
Well, right now I'm standing under an overhang at our hotel, so I'm kind of protected from the wind right now. I'm going to step out just a little bit so you can see just how strong this wind is right now. You can also take a look at these trees. They've been nonstop being bent over by this wind as well. Heavy rain coming in, and from the lights you can see how fast this wind is going based on the rain in all of this. Also, you can see that has been happening all night long. We've seen the power flickering on and off all day. So we are continuing. You can feel those gusts coming in. These big gusts have been coming all night. So we have been out here for a little bit, and it definitely has worsened since what we've seen earlier this afternoon. It quickly deteriorated. Earlier when we were out here, it was just a lot of rain, a few gusts, but now we're seeing those really strong winds come in, that heavy rain come in. We haven't seen much flooding from where we are at this moment, but we're going to start driving around soon and bringing the latest in other parts of Wilmington. Back to you guys.
All right, Anna, thank you.
All right, let's go to Michael Perchik in Fayetteville and get the conditions there. Michael, good morning. What are you seeing? Okay, we don't have Michael, but we do have Morgan Norwood. Morgan, where are you and what are you seeing?
This is one of the first few creeks that tend to flood here in downtown Fayetteville. I remember it vividly during Hurricane Matthew, if you can imagine. I would probably be underwater right now. I want to show you the creek. We'll go down here a little bit. For the most part, everything's pretty much been calm. We have heard a little bit of snap, crackle, and pop from the trees and the wind, things like that. But of course, the big concern this morning will probably be rain. Throughout the day, we've been talking about immense rainfall totals. We've been listening to Big Weather talk about that. But this is Cross Creek. It runs right through downtown Fayetteville. It typically floods here in downtown Fayetteville. That building right behind me, pretty much during Hurricane Matthew, there was a lot of flooding there. The library in general flooded. And so that's what we can expect throughout the day. And of course, we're going to keep you updated on those conditions. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and toss it back to you guys in the studio.
Morgan, thank you.
All right, about 185,000 people in North Carolina have lost their power due to the storm. That number, unfortunately, is expected to rise. And of course, we continue to watch the estimates for the rainfall, not only along the coast where they could get more than 20 inches, but even here in the heart of Carolina where we're maybe 5-10 inches in the Raleigh, Durham area, down in Fayetteville, Cumberland County, more than that.
Wow. Anthony Wilson is live at Crabtree Valley Mall for us in Raleigh, where it's very prone to flooding when we get intense rainfall. Let's check in with him and see how it is. Okay.
All right, not Anthony, but let's go to Michael Perchik, who's been up all night. And Michael, tell us where you are and what you're seeing.
We're about 5 minutes from downtown Fayetteville. As you can see, the wind has really been picking up overnight here, on and off bands of rain, but it's really been the wind that's been the main concern for folks here in Fayetteville. I'm going to step out of the scene. That is a car accident from earlier this morning. Fayetteville police tell us they do not believe that is storm related, but if you take a look at these traffic lights up here, you can see they are swaying with these really strong gusts of wind. We've already seen tree branches knocked down on Hay Street. That's in downtown Fayetteville. Right across for the street here is Dobbin Avenue, excuse me. You can see tree branches down right next to a church as well. So anyone, if you are having to drive through Fayetteville early this morning, make sure you are watching out for any debris these strong gusts of winds have caused and kind of brought onto the ground. As you can see, a lot of leaves, a lot of thistle, some garbage kind of strewn as well. But for the most part, it's really the tree branches that you have to watch out for. Again, not too much rain. The roads are a bit wet from some strong bands that came in a couple of hours ago. Some of you saw that when we were driving up on I-95 north near Wade, but for the most part, it hasn't been the rain so much here in Fayetteville. It's been a concern. It's been the wind. You can see just right on cue the rain picking up just a little bit here with those strong gusts of wind. But again, now it's really starting to pick up. Just as I said, it hasn't been a concern. That's typically how it works on TV. So this is pretty much the strongest rain. It hasn't been too much of a downpour until I said it hasn't been too much of a downpour. But again, we are expecting this rain to come in at some point this morning. We don't know exactly when. It's been on and off really all day since we've been out here. The roads have been slick at times. It's really just going to have to depend on when is kind of the most recent rainfall we've gotten. But again, you can see and hear the wind quite strong here this morning. Again, that accident you see is not weather related, which is a good sign. But again, for folks traveling in downtown Fayetteville, there are tree branches down. We're about 5 minutes outside downtown Fayetteville right now. Pretty quiet on the roadways, but the wind is really beginning to rustle around, guys.
Don says the National Weather Service has just issued what for Fayetteville, Don?
It actually just issued a river flood warning. I'm just getting the information on it right now. It's not for today or tomorrow, but they anticipate the Cape Fear River at Fayetteville to go above flood stage sometime minor flooding, sometime Monday, and could top out in the moderate flood stage on Wednesday. We're just getting this information in, but according to National Weather Service Raleigh, 3 warnings now issued for the Cape Fear River Basin in response to this expected heavy rainfall. One is for the Cape Fear River at Fayetteville. One is for the Little River at Manchester, expected to crest sometime Monday into Tuesday. And one is for the Cape Fear River at Wilmington, expected to go into flood stage sometime Monday morning. So those are the 3. Those are river flood situations. That's going to be a ways down the road, but based on the heavy rainfall, we're just getting that in, and I want to make sure and pass that along to you.
Okay. Thank you, Don.
Yep.
Thank you, Don. Let's continue our live coverage now. Anthony Wilson is at Crabtree Valley Mall in Raleigh, scene of numerous flooding incidents over the years. Anthony?
That's right. This is where the creek always comes up when there's really serious rain. It's not raining right now, but they are ready just in case. Over here, the Bank of America branch, you see what they are calling a flood plank, which is keeping the teller side secure in the event that something comes flying this way. Again, we don't know what's going to happen because the winds have not kicked up that much, at least not as of this point. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But Jeff, come out from there if you can. Watch out, watch your step there. We don't want you to trip. And over here across the street at the Wells Fargo Bank, across the parking lot, not really the street because we're actually near the mall. You can see over here, they've got some sandbags, again, trying to protect the inside of the bank in the event that there is water that rises this far. Now, we're on the opposite side of the mall, far away from Crabtree Creek, but with this kind of a storm coming up, you never know how far the water's going to come or where it's going to come from. It could very well come across Glenwood Avenue. But here you've got these sandbags, and again, trying to make sure that the actual building and the inside of this bank stays secure. We got some video that we shot earlier showing what they're doing inside the mall itself, trying to make sure that that is secure. Because again, if you've been watching Eyewitness News over the years, you know that when it's just a really hard rain, a general hard, steady rain, that creek rises fast. A lot of people's cars, in some cases, that have been parked on that side of the mall have been trapped by water. So they're trying to avoid that situation because, as we know, when you've got a hurricane, you don't get just a little bit of water. It comes fast and hard. And speaking of that, on the way over here, driving here on Interstate 40, we figured that because most of the wind was actually on the eastern side of the state, we were going to get a break. I drive a small Honda sedan. It was fine for a while, but there was a wave of wind and rain that hit that car, and it was a death grip. And I'm not making a joke about death, but had to hang on to the wheel really hard to make sure that we did not go like that on the road. And that's not a feeling that I recommend. If you don't have to be out here when the real rain and the winds start, that's one more recommendation from somebody who's been there. Don't do it. If you have any place to go, be careful when you're driving. In fact, try to stay off the road if you can, because we've shown you some of the people who are from out of town who are trying to make it down to the most heavily impacted areas of this state right now, the eastern part over near the coast, trying to make sure that those people are safe. Some people may need to be moved. Some older people, we were told yesterday, may need to be evacuated from these homes where they're getting some health care. So again, when we're talking about the danger that's posed by this storm, if you're not an experienced driver or a driver who gets spooked pretty easily, when you get caught in the kind of weather that I went through for just a few minutes on the way here, that could change your life. So take it from me, try to avoid driving when the real rain starts. But right now here at Crabtree Valley Mall, nice breeze. It feels kind of spring-like, but don't be fooled. The worst could be on the way. Don is keeping an eye on things to let us know when and where the storm is going to move. So stay with Eyewitness News throughout the day, throughout the morning. In fact, we're wall to wall now to make sure that you are aware of what's coming when it gets here, and we want to keep you safe. John and Barbara.
Anthony, thank you. It'll be good to see if those flood planks actually work. I haven't seen them do that before, so we'll see, because they got a lot of flooding issues there.
They do, but they're making strides to try and stop it. All right, well, New Bern, let's show you some video now, and we invite you to send us video if you can safely. But this is New Bern. This was earlier today, but it has been getting a lot of rain. Reports are coming in of widespread flooding. This is actually video from yesterday. The Neuse River spilling its banks due to the combination of the storm surge and the rain. And Eyewitness News talked to the mayor overnight, and he says that his crews have been working to reach people who are trapped in their homes. But this is New Bern, so this is slowly happening.
And Hurricane Florence forcing an evacuation of our ABC sister affiliate WCTI in New Bern. Look at the parking lot there. The meteorologists were the last ones to leave that station before they handed off broadcasting to their sister station in South Carolina. So even news media affected by this.
That's right. Well, also, there's video of a gas station. Do we have that video? Okay, we're going to show you a gas station. This is in Topsail, and you can watch it here as it's just swaying. You see the power go out, and then there's that banner, and it falls over in the wind. Wow, that is strong wind to be able to do that. This is a gas station in Topsail. So if you have any video that you would like to send us, we'd love to have it. As long as you can do it safely, you can send it to ABC11.com.
We're going to show you some live pictures right now. This is Wilmington, and you see those boats there moored at the dock, and you just see how rough the water is there. Again, it started raining in Wilmington before noon yesterday, and it's liable to continue on and on as that storm just kind of lingers there in southeastern North Carolina. Hasn't come ashore just yet, but hopefully those boats are moored down very securely. But you know, with winds is what we're seeing over 100 miles per hour, you're just not sure.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people worried about their property and their loved ones who are in the coastal communities. Let's talk to Josh Chapin. He is live at the Emergency Operations Center in Raleigh for us, and he's got more information on some of those coastal communities and the damage they're seeing so far. Josh, good morning.
Yeah, Barbara, good morning to you. We've been here for the better part of the evening into now Friday morning. We had a news conference with Governor Cooper. We're expecting another news conference with the governor later this morning. He is insistent, a few takeaways from that this storm is about teamwork, is about endurance, and eventually we will get through this together. Just maybe an hour ago, though, we were coordinating with folks here in the Emergency Operations Center as to what was going on in New Bern, because there were a number of tweets, including from the city of New Bern, that 150 people needed rescuing, and the folks here at the Emergency Operations Center are aware of what's going on down there. There are crews that were pre-deployed down there, and they are trying to respond to as many people down there as possible. And there are additional crews being sent down there. Of course, they don't want to put the emergency responders in harm's way. But again, there are 150 people, according to Twitter, that did need rescuing in New Bern. Now, while this storm is still sort of coming onto shore and making its most significant impact, the governor this afternoon is stressing 5 different things I just want to go over. I know we've been really emphasizing these things throughout our coverage this afternoon, but I don't think it hurts really to say these things again. Number one, really don't drive on a road that's covered by water. You just don't know, particularly if it's dark, how many inches of water are on the road, because it is so quick that water can wash away your car. Number two, stay indoors, stay away from windows. Really not necessary to be a hurricane chaser, a hurricane sightseer. You just don't know what that can produce. Number three, make sure you don't use generators indoors, because that can lead to a significant amount of carbon monoxide. Number four, make sure you're in a secure place in your house. We talked about some of those folks that were in New Bern that are in their attics. That is really last resort. Preferably you want to be in an interior part of your home, a closet, a hallway, that sort of thing. And number five, make sure you stay alert. Use a radio or other device to make sure you can stay tuned to us here at Eyewitness News for updates about tornado watches. I know Don has been talking about some of those that have been coming over our radar in just the last half hour, but you want to stay informed as much as possible. Lastly tonight, Governor Cooper stressing that about 911. And I cannot stress this enough that if you're calling 911, make sure you're doing this if you have a real emergency, because the emergency responders out here have a tremendous number of rescues that they'll likely be dealing with. And we just saw a number of folks in New Bern that need our help, or that need the help of first responders. But if it's not a life-threatening emergency, call 211 if you're in need of a shelter or you have other issues. So we're going to wait to hear from the governor later today, and we'll let you know what he says and bring you any updates, of course, throughout the morning when we got it. Barbara and John, back to you.
All right, Josh, thank you.
All right, well, we wanted to give you an update on the air travel situation. As you might imagine, it's pretty hard to run an airport in hurricane conditions. 400 flights were scheduled to arrive or depart RDU. Half of those flights have already been canceled today, and more cancellations could be coming. Delta is the most optimistic airline right now, if you can put it that way. They're flying a near normal schedule. American has a few early flights today, and then none through early Saturday. JetBlue has a limited flight schedule, and United Airlines has limited flights today as well. All of RDU's other airlines have canceled all of their flights, including Southwest. They're one of the biggest carriers there. So the best advice, if you're holding on to hopes of flying out today, keep checking with your airline before you head to the airport.
That was a sweet picture, those two people. Happy to see each other. Well, Hurricane Florence has already started to impact the gas supply. Gosh, it has all week. As the storm moves through, there will likely not be any deliveries of gas. It could be a few days, even after the storm passes, that gas supplies return to normal. Also, because of the storm, gas prices have risen about 2 cents per gallon. If you see prices that don't seem reasonable, you can report them to the state. But of course, as supply and demand happens, you are going to see some prices go up because it costs those distributors money to get the gas. It is against the law to price gouge, but you know, there's a definite definition in the law of what gouging is.
And if you need to make a supply run, well, you might want to hurry. Some Triangle public stores are closing early today. The public stores in Cary, Wake Forest, and Apex are closing at 5 p.m. today. Publix says they'll continue to monitor the storm, and they'll reopen the stores as conditions permit, and it is safe to do so. Publix is the only the grocery store that we have information on at this time.
All right, now also remember, we're just at the start of the storm. The rain and the winds only going to pick up over the next few hours, so some areas are already under a curfew. Unincorporated areas of Cumberland County are under a curfew from sunset to sunrise until further notice.
The town of Hope Mills is also under a sunset to sunrise curfew. The mayor of Spring Lake issued a curfew that started at 10 last night and lasts until 7 o'clock this morning.
All right, in Robeson County, a sunset to sunrise curfew has already been imposed, and that will remain active until further notice. And Lee County started its curfew at 9 p.m. last night. It's in effect until it's canceled.
And in the unincorporated areas of Sampson County, a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. curfew will be in effect until officials cancel it. Now, we see these kinds of extreme, severe weather situations from time to time, and local governments decide that it's just too unsafe to be outside.
All right, and when it is safe to do so, we would love to see photos and videos of what you are experiencing during this hurricane. Just post them on our ABC11 Facebook page, or you can also use the hashtag ABC11 on social media, and you can also email them to us at eyewitness@abc11.com.
And remember, ABC11 is keeping you covered throughout this storm. In case of a power outage, you can find the latest on Hurricane Florence by downloading the ABC11 News and Weather apps. We're also streaming live right now on ABC11.com and at the ABC11 Facebook and YouTube pages.
All right, well, if you lose power or we lose power in our area, we will always be here. You'll be able to get the latest information from ABC11 when we simulcast on area radio stations. You can hear us on K97.5, the big 95.7, WKML. Old School 107.7 Jams, the Big Stick, Foxy 99, G105, B93.9, WRDU, Alt 95.3, and 106.1 FM.
More than 12,000 people fleeing the storm have taken shelter in 126 shelters that are open across the state. 6 of those shelters are in Wake County. We have some video now from a shelter at Middle Creek High School in Apex. This is one of 3 additional shelters opened up by Wake County after the first 3 filled up very quickly, those folks coming in from the coast. If you have pets, you need to go to the shelter at Heritage High School in Wake Forest. Now, if you want to donate anything to these shelters, you can drop off those donations at the Wake County Emergency Services Center. They're located at 221 South Rogers Lane. Donations will not be accepted at the shelters.
Well, Wake County had to open 3 more shelters after the first 3 that opened reached capacity yesterday. Shelters are now open at Heritage, Middle Creek, and Sanderson High Schools. If you are in Wake County and you need non-emergency assistance, you can call 919-856-7044.
All right, for you folks in Durham County, if you're seeking shelter, you can go to Hillside High School or the Bahama Ruritan Club. If you have questions or need more information in Durham County, you can call 919-560-HELP.
Shelters are also open in Orange County at Smith Middle School and C.W. Stanford Middle School. The shelters will have food and water, but you should bring any medications or personal items that you might need. If you need transportation to the shelter, you can call this number here, 919-245-6100.
As of 9:45 last night, 555 people have reported to the 7 emergency shelters open in Cumberland County. There may be a limited number of cots at some shelters, and residents, they say, should take sleeping bags and blankets. Cumberland County has shelters at Mac Williams Middle School, the National Guard Armory, Pine Forest High School, 71st High School. Cumberland County has requested additional assistance from the state, including a special needs medical shelter and an overflow animal shelter for the Cumberland County Animal Control Shelter.
And you can also go to the Smith Recreation Center, Southview High School, and W.T. Brown Elementary School. Again, all of this information is posted on our website if you need it, because I know it's hard just to listen and need these numbers. It's ABC11.com, and you can also get this through the ABC11 app.
Volunteers are searching for some missing birds. Now, these birds were evacuated or being evacuated from the coast. As animals were being evacuated to Charlotte from Wilmington, well, their cages flew off the back of a truck, of all things. And we're told by a Good Samaritan driving from Charleston, that a Good Samaritan driving from Charleston volunteered to pick up more than 30 birds from Wilmington to bring to Charlotte, but they suspect the crates weren't strapped correctly and properly, and at one point those straps broke. 3 crates flew off the truck somewhere in Maxton, North Carolina, in Robeson County. A red-tailed hawk, 3 chickens, and a pelican were in those crates. 4 have been recovered, but the hawk, who is missing a wing, can't fly and has not been found. The Carolina waterfowl is asking people in the area to be on the lookout for these birds.
All right, we've gotten a tweet from Fayetteville, and this is the picture there in the tweet. It's about a tree down on Murkison Road, and you can see there they've got the tape around it so people won't run into it. But again, this is what we're probably going to see, because there's supposed to be so much rain, and it is raining in the Fayetteville area, but they're expecting to get a lot of rain, and this is just going to be a result of some of this. So be aware of this. If you have to get out, if you don't have to get out, don't. But if you do, just be aware of situations like this. But again, they tweeted this out for you to see, a tree down on Murkison Road. So be aware of that if you're in that area and you need to get out.
And if you're just tuning in, we continue to monitor Hurricane Florence, which is just kind of lingering off the coast of the Wilmington there now, downgraded to a Category 1. Remember, this storm started out earlier and it was raised to a Category 4 at one time. It has been downgraded, but don't let that fool you, because there's still a lot of punch with this storm. It's going to linger around for days, and that could be catastrophic in terms of flooding in our area. We've already had some reports of tornado warnings in our area, none lingering right now. But as this storm continues and those outer bands hit our area, that can continue to happen. We could get more of those.
All right, live pictures as we head to break. Big weather is coming up with the latest on the forecast right after this. Florence coverage here at Eyewitness News. It is now 4 o'clock in the morning, and we're watching this storm pretty much hang out. It hasn't really made landfall yet, down to a Category 1, but we're seeing a lot of kind of dangerous situations on our coast, especially New Bern. We have a crew on the way there. We're hearing from Josh Chapin at the Emergency Operations Center that 150 people need rescuing there.
Yeah, that whole area, New Bern, Little Washington, Greenville, getting hit pretty hard right now. We had some video earlier of WCTI, our ABC sister station in New Bern, where the parking lot was flooded and the station had to be evacuated, actually. Only the meteorologists were left there, and I think they've gone now. So, again, we have a crew headed to New Bern, and we have crews stationed throughout the coast to keep you up to date, as well as the heart of Carolina.
All right, big weather's here, and around here, it seems like we've got kind of a steady, light rain in certain areas.
I mean, we've had a couple pockets every now and then of heavier rain work through overnight. If you're waking up and you're headed out right now and you look outside and you go, what's the big deal? This thing hasn't even gotten here yet, unfortunately for us. So we've got a long ways to go on this. We'll talk about that in a moment. Here's the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Maximum sustained winds right now. I'll go back to that and reset it. No problem. Hold on. I got our Steve-O. We'll go back and look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Maximum sustained winds at 90 miles an hour, moving west-northwest at 6 miles per hour. This thing's still 30 miles east of Wilmington, North Carolina, so it is still sitting off the coast. It hasn't made landfall yet. Expected to make landfall sometime today. It could make landfall anywhere from Wilmington down to Bald Head. It could come up into the northern part of Wilmington, so anywhere in that cone. Here's the problem with this storm. By tonight at 8 o'clock, it's only here. It's still in North Carolina. By tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., so we're talking 28 hours from now, winds are down to 60, but it could be down around Myrtle Beach. If it works up to in the northern part of the cone, that is bad news. It pushes the heavier rain farther north. If it stays in the southern part of the cone, we will see the heavier rain shifting south, and that would be really good news. And then this thing curves back out and moves up into Pennsylvania and out of here by Monday into Tuesday, but we could see the lingering effects of the runoff all the way through Monday night. Latest watches and warnings. Let's get you up to date on who's under what right now. We have hurricane warnings in effect for Wayne County out toward Greenville and then south to Sampson County and into Bladen County. A hurricane warning means winds 74 miles an hour or greater for at least a minute or longer, so they expect hurricane force winds in those counties. Tropical storm warnings in effect for Edgecombe County, Wilson, into Nash, Franklin, Wake County, Johnston County, Harnett County, Lee, Chatham, Hoke, Moore, Cumberland, and down into Robeson counties. All of those counties are under that tropical storm warning in effect all the way through this storm. Now, we have flash flood watches in effect. The Burgundy area over here, as you get out toward New Bern, those are flash flood warnings. So they are in warnings now in the eastern part of the state. We're still in watches for our area. Those have been extended to the north. Yesterday, Durham and Alamance and Orange counties weren't in this. You are now. Franklin County, you've been added to this as well. So we continue to see these flash flood watches in effect for the area, and these have now been extended through Sunday. Here's the latest radar loop showing the showers working through heavy rainfall down to the south. We had a heavier band now that's working into Durham. You can see this heavier pocket of showers in Durham. Will slide south. The rain continuing to fall in parts of Wayne County, Sampson County. There is a little bit of a dry slot working through at the moment in southern Wayne County and around Clinton, but that's just one dry slot as the rain bands continue to work in. Then we zoom it out. There is the eye of the storm radar, easily detecting the eye of this hurricane. The heaviest wind still at sea. We've seen wind gusts going in the 100-mile-per-hour range. We'll talk more about the movement of this storm coming up for you in just a bit. Let's talk weather, or let's talk more about some of the movement of this storm. For that, we go to meteorologist Steve Stewart.
All right, Don, thank you very much. And one of the things we always talk about is when these bands move on through, you get a break in the rain, but here comes another one behind it. They just continue. And this is what we call a training effect. And the initial bands that come through, it might not be that big a deal. You get a heavy band that moves through. It lasts about 30 minutes, a little break, and then the next one. Before you know it, the ground is completely saturated. Here comes another big heavy band, and it continues to start to pile up. And before you know it, you've got some flash flooding concerns. And that's what we're going to be dealing with in places, especially in the sand hills, for days to come. And as Don showed you earlier, we already had two tornado warnings. We're not in a watch right right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if later today or tonight this is extended a little bit farther to the west, because as that storm continues to move inland slowly, as Don was showing you, the potential for some rotation is going to be there. We could get quick spin ups, typically EF0s or EF1s, but again, with that quick spin up, we can have some damage. It doesn't take too much to cause that damage with those tiny little tornadoes that'll be embedded in those showers. Almost everyone except our northern counties in this flash flood watch all the way through Saturday. So this is going to be a long stretch of potential heavy rain. Let's take a look at a few models, and then we're going to show you what we're thinking. So let's take a kind of a combination of all of them. The one thing you are going to notice for sure is this thought process of a tight gradient between not as much rain and significant rain. So that shift up or down is going to be significant. But this is the European model, and it's got upwards of 15 to even 20 inches. You see all in this white shade down here from Wilmington to Fayetteville. And again, there could be some pockets that get a lot more than this, but this is generally what the model's thinking. As you get up to the triangle, significantly less amounts, but no joke, near 7 inches, and lesser amounts farther to the north. The GFS model, very similar. Numbers are a little bit higher on the triangle, but very similar. You see that white where it's really excessive gets a little bit farther north, then AM a little bit farther south. But you see how there's a consensus here with the global models that it'll be much heavier in the sandhills and more prolonged without as many breaks in those bands that move on through. So flooding much more of a high concern farther to the south. And here's our in-house model, very similar. So a lot of agreement with the models now. So we've taken all that information and we come up with a graph that shows lesser amounts north through the triangle, 5 to 10 inches of possibility, 10 to 15 through part of the sandhills, but southern Cumberland County, these areas potentially 20 plus. So let's break it down in areas. We'll put some towns on there to kind of help you out a little bit. So Roxborough, Oxford, Norlina, South Hill, and Roanoke Rapids. Again, 3 to 5 inches of rain possible in these areas. The gusts could be at 30 to 35. So we'll put that in the limited or elevated impacts. There won't be nearly as much problems there as farther to the south. Now, as we go to the south, we take a look at this next block here. Moderate impacts from Butner, Durham, Wake Forest, Chapel Hill into Burlington. That 5 to 10 inches of rain. So we're going to see sporadic areas of flooding, areas that typically flood, like Crabtree Creek, areas like that. Almost a certainty we're going to see issues along those areas. Lewisburg, Nashville, Halifax included in the gusts at 35 to 40. So we go a little bit farther south and the intensity really picks up now, where the impacts will be considered high. That's increasing threat to life and property, and that includes Sanford, Lillington, Holly Springs, Smithfield, Pinehurst, you're in that, even Wendell, Wilson, Tarboro, all these areas in the red. And again, we might have to shift this north or south as we continue through time here. But gusts to 50 miles an hour, not sustained. These are gusts, but if you have a gust and then maybe 20 minutes later another gust, it's going to be constant for 24 to 30 hours of having these gusty winds. That's why a lot of trees can go down, and power outages is going to be a major issue, especially once we get to Fayetteville, Dunn, Clinton, and Goldsboro. That's where the winds could be the strongest, 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. At times you could have sustained winds over 40. Sustained. So that's going to cause issues alone. And then 10 to 20 inches of rain. And that is going to be a tight gradient. I mean, it could be 10 inches in Dunn, into southern Sampson County, closer to 20. But again, this is the biggest area of concern down in the Sandhills. Now, our model's hinting at once you get in those areas, it's a moderate to high risk for power outages. We know there's going to be a lot down towards the coast, closer to the storm. But around the triangle, it's anyone's guess. Number of trees are going to go down. The question is, do they hit the power lines as they go down? Now let's talk back to the coast. Let's talk about the seas. I mean, we're seeing a lot of these buoys at 15, 20 feet. Some of them aren't reporting anymore, but our model still with Florence off the coast. Big waves continue to batter along the coastline. We're talking 14 to 18 feet. But notice as we go through time, midday today, as we see the storm coming on shore, more than half of the storm now is going to be over land. So we're going to see less in the way of that push of water. So the numbers start to go down, and that trend continues later on tonight. Still going to be aggravating the flooding, still going to be having coastal overwash. All that is still going to be an issue. It's just the intensity is going to be going down. And then by early Saturday morning. Still some big seas, but you can see it just gets better and better along the coast, and they'll start to see that improvement. So let's take a look now. This is a storm surge forecast graphic from National Hurricane Center suggesting getting some of that water pushed back up around the New River. Issues there around Jacksonville, Sneads Ferry for sure, Swansboro. You can see that pushing up all the way into Queens Creek. But the biggest issues that we're going to see and have seen so far is around the Neuse River, around New Bern. But all this water is trying to get pushed back up, and it's kind of acting like a dam. It's basically holding this water that's coming in, normal flow. It just can't go all the way through, so it starts filling up. And we've had those significant issues already in and around New Bern with an incredible amount of flooding, and we're just getting started. I mean, they got a good 20 hours to go with water piling up there. Tar River, Pamlico River also estimated at around 7 to 10 foot surge there. Not as bad up around the Roanoke River, around Williamston. So the winds, I didn't put any pause points in that. All right, well, we'll let Don cover that a little bit later on. So anyway, that's what we're talking about. The biggest issues, again, are going to be along the coast with that storm surge. We'll have much more coming up in a few minutes. Now I take it, I'm not sure where we're going. John and Barbara, okay.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve and Don. Let's continue our coverage now. Morgan Norwood in Cumberland County has found a tree that is causing a hazard, and the crews are already on the scene, Morgan?
A minor wind gust, so just a reminder to you that even that type of situation can occur, as we're just now starting to see more sustained winds here in Cumberland County. I'll tell you where I am. I'm at Pecan and Bragg Boulevard, just off of Bragg. This is the Cumberland Heights subdivision. We're told about 150 homes here without telephone and phone and cable services right now. We do have PWC crews on the way. They're going to make sure that this is not live. There's no power lines or anything like that. Activating this tree here. They just ask that once crews do arrive, and if you see them out working here on the roads, give them their space, give them their time to make sure that they're getting everything cleared up here for the residents. But again, this is the Cumberland Heights subdivision off of Bragg Boulevard, and we're going to be seeing more of these types of incidents and things like this happening throughout the day as the winds continue to pick up here. We're not seeing much rain. Of course, we've been talking about the flooding, but again, we do have high wind gusts here from time to time that could bring down trees. So keep that in mind if you have to be out today. We've been telling people to stay home, and the good news is that we haven't been seeing many people out here on the road. So this is what we're seeing, this massive tree here in the Cumberland Heights subdivision.
Morgan Norwood in Fayetteville, thank you.
All right, and that was a second tree that we've seen down in Fayetteville. That was Pecan and Bragg, and then the earlier one was Murchison Road. Let's go to the coast now. Anna Rivera is live for us in Wilmington with the latest on the situation there. Anna, have things changed much?
Not much where we are right now. We're about to start driving around to kind of see the conditions in the rest of Wilmington. Right now, we're still at our hotel, and as you guys know, we've been in Wilmington and in this area for about a week now, almost a week, and we've seen these conditions deteriorate quickly. We went from beautiful sunny skies, and now we're experiencing some very heavy winds and heavy rain. Take a look. We set up in this area because you can see, I'm going to step out into the storm. We were under an overhang for a second. You can see the winds in these lights at this car dealership throughout the entire city of Wilmington. We saw people moving cars and vehicles closer to their businesses, which is exactly what this dealership did. They're moving up close so they can protect their vehicles from the wind and rain, but they're also trying to protect the windows from any type of debris hitting those windows and doing any damage to the actual building. Now, even the power in our hotel was out for a significant amount of time, and in our last live shot, if you guys remember, the power has been flickering on and off. We're assuming that's from these heavy winds and the power lines touching, and it's been flickering on and off because of that. From what we know, you can see how fast and quick these wind gusts come up. That's the thing you have to remember. It can seem like it's safe and everything's fine, but all it takes is one wind gust, and you never know what type of debris will come up. Now, when we were talking to some of the business owners in Wilmington, they were telling us that they were upset that they closed so early. But again, officials are warning you that even though this storm has downgraded over the last couple of days, this is going to do some major damage. And if you can stay in, especially if you are in these coastal areas like Wilmington. Back to you guys in the studio.
You.
And let's show you some live pictures now from Jacksonville, North Carolina. And you can see the heavy rain falling there, and you see that tree blowing in the breeze. Jacksonville out on the coast in Onslow County really getting pounded. That whole area seems right now to be about the hardest hit as we continue to watch the bands from Florence continue to embrace North Carolina.
All right, we have crews from the Triangle to the coast and covering this entire storm for you. Let's go to Gloria Rodriguez. Gloria, where are you and what are you seeing?
Barbara, right now I'm in downtown Lumberton, and we are really starting to feel that wind right now. It is very windy out here. Not really seeing too much rain here in the area, but it has kind of rained a little bit on and off. Do want to show you some of the businesses here are boarded up as they prepare for Hurricane Florence. So this business here is boarded up, as well as another business behind me that's probably kind of hard to see from where I am at right now. But as we were driving in, we also saw a gas station that was boarded up, and we drove by the Lumber River, which of course is going to be something that everybody will be looking at, because just 2 years ago with Hurricane Matthew, this area got a lot of flooding. They had to do many rescues here in the area. You probably remember those images from 2 years ago where they had helicopters that were coming in, boats coming in to rescue folks from Hurricane Matthew. And so of course Hurricane Florence is going to be a major concern here. There are still many people that are displaced from Hurricane Matthew. There's some communities where there are abandoned homes still from that hurricane, and people still recovering. And so of course Hurricane Florence could really have another major impact here in this community in Lumberton. But right now, as I mentioned, this business boarded up. If you look here next door, not really too much going on here, but some of the other businesses seem to not be boarded up. But of course it's early right now, not too much activity out here at this time of the morning. But we're going to stay out here, and of course we'll keep you updated on what's going on. Again, right now just a lot of wind, but not too much rain at this time. That could of course change in the coming days. Back to you in the studio.
Gloria, thank you. Such a slow moving storm, and
Yeah.
it's still hanging out on the coast and taking its time, kind of stalled there before. Not sure when it's going to make landfall. Hasn't made it yet.
And we remember the video from Hurricane Matthew 2 years ago, particularly in Robeson County, and just seems like whole blocks just inundated with water. And they're talking about perhaps maybe 20 inches of rain falling in that area this time around before the storm is gone. So our hearts and prayers are with the folks, particularly there south of the Triangle and in the Sandhills.
I do remember those aerial shots, Trapper 11 HD, over neighborhoods, over interstates, and it was almost submerged.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was incredible.
All right, as you are tuning in, we continue to cover Hurricane Florence, which is still offshore, but the effects are hitting us even as we speak. Anthony Wilson is at Crabtree Valley Mall, a place that is not immune to flooding. Anthony.
That's right, John. This is where, when the rain comes down hard, the water on Crabtree Creek rises. It often goes inside the parking lot. We're standing outside the Wells Fargo Bank that's on the edge of the mall, and you see they are prepared for anything. Certainly if the water does rise here, they got sandbags. They've got plastic sheeting up here on the door that leads into the bank. And over here, Jeff, give us a good picture of this. They've already notified customers that in case of severe weather like we're having right now, they close this bank on the 13th. They will reopen as soon as possible. No telling when that is, but they are ready for that. That said, they also are very aware of the fact that people probably want to get their money out as soon as they can if they can't go inside the actual branch. Therefore, they do have the ATM, which is working here. And this ATM is really interesting because they also have a message that has to do with the hurricane. Watch this. It comes up here. They're letting people know that they can donate at this ATM in order to help people affected by Hurricane Florence. And that could be people in our area if the storm does hit us. I should say when, because it's going to move through here sooner or later. We got some video we can show you now of the preparations they had here at the mall yesterday preparing for this storm. As we've told you already, they know that the water rises fast. So if you're talking about a hurricane, it's going to rise faster than usual, certainly maybe faster than ever, depending on the strength of the wind and the rain when they finally arrive here. I can tell you that when I was on my way to work today, the wind and rain were pretty heavy and hard and fast on Interstate 40, which is another reason why you should probably avoid driving, especially when you see the rain coming down in sheets. As we say, and we're not exaggerating when we say this, when the hurricane hits, the rain seems to be coming at you horizontally. That's because of the volume of rain and also the velocity of the wind. And back live now, going this way, another bank, Bank of America. Watch out, Jeff, you're about to hit that curb. Bank of America also has some barriers up here to protect this property from flying debris. That's called a flood plank. More of that elsewhere in the mall and elsewhere wherever you are, because property, of course, can be replaced and is guarded by this kind of thing, but lives, not so much. So as we've been saying over and over here, make sure that if you have to go outside, you're very careful, especially when the rain and the wind are at their highest. On the way over here, it was a little scary, frankly, when my four-door lightweight Honda began to wriggle a little bit when we went through a wave of rain and wind. So word to the wise, be careful, or better yet, stay where you are, keep your devices charged before the power goes out, and watch ABC11. We will make sure that you are informed about what's happening and where and what you should do to stay safe. John and Barbara.
Anthony Wilson at Crabtree Valley, thank you.
Okay, I'm praying and keeping my fingers crossed that we don't lose power.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
all I'm
I
saying.
think everybody is. Yeah, I know, right?
Right now,
you are not alone in your prayers.
185,000 folks in North Carolina have lost power so far.
And are they saying that's on the coast?
Mostly
primarily?
on the coast, yeah.
Anna Rivera's been in Wilmington all week. She said their hotel lost power, and I guess it's back on. But I mean, that's one of those things you just.
Ginger Z there for Network 2, and hers lost power last night as well. So around here, you may be waking up going, what's the big deal? Not much has happened. It's because this thing hasn't moved in yet.
What is that? Just like the weirdest thing?
This storm has been unlike any other storm. I'll tell you, there's been several things. First of all, it formed in an area that every other storm in our history that's formed in that area has never hit the U.S. So it's the first one ever to form in this area and hit the U.S. It's just grown bigger and bigger. Even though the intensity's gone down at the core, the winds have gone out further and further from it. That's weird. It's a massive storm. I mean, people don't realize this thing is 300-400 miles wide at some points, almost 500 yesterday at one point. And so we're just seeing it. The system that brought it closer to us, they call them the steering winds, those winds that help steer these systems, they died off. And until it gets picked up by the next system, unfortunately, it's just going to hang out in North Carolina. Flo, go away. We're tired of having you here. Latest satellite picture showing it down here rotating the eye, still right off the coast. It has not made landfall because it hasn't moved. All right, let's talk about what we're seeing as far as things across the region right now. We will get things started with a look at what's happening as far as the latest radar picture. Evidently, my clicker wants to play day off today. It's Friday, clicker. We need you to work. All right, Hurricane Florence, latest update from the National Hurricane Center. Maximum sustained winds at 90, pressure 955 millibars, and it is 30 miles east of Wilmington, North Carolina. Now, as we go through the path of this storm, you will see, look at tonight at 8 o'clock. This is, what, 16 hours from now? It hasn't moved out of North Carolina. This thing is just stuck right over us. And as it sits down there with 75-mile-an-hour winds, it keeps throwing rain to the north, right across Cumberland County, Bladen and Robeson counties. And that's where the heaviest rainfall would be. Now, by tomorrow night, and now we're talking, 38, 40 hours from now, it's still in South Carolina. Still could be pulling rain up tomorrow. The rain hopefully shuts off as we go into Sunday, and then that thing exits on up through Pennsylvania and finally gets out of here. Now, a live look at First Alert Doppler and the most powerful radar in the Carolinas showing heavy rain that just moved through Durham, working into Orange County now, and that little heavier batch. Then we've got a heavier batch down south. Wayne County, unfortunately, you've just been hit, and you're going to keep getting hit today all day long. We zoom it out. There's the eye. Very easy to pick out the eye off the coast of Wilmington right now. You can see it just sitting there and spinning off the coast. I'm going to switch modes on this real quick because I want to show you. We'll just do this together on TV. We're going to shut the radar off for a second. Turn the radar off, and then we're going to clear off all the messages on where this thing is. Then we're going to go to what's called our observed precipitation accumulation. These are Doppler radar estimates. They're fairly accurate when you don't have ice in them, when you're not seeing hail. So how much rain have we seen? Let's check on some of the rainfall totals down to the south right now. Around Wilmington, 3.5 inches of rain have fallen so far. But you get up past Wilmington, you're seeing 7.5 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches. There's 9 inches. Let's zoom down to that area and see what areas are seeing that. I'm not as familiar with the coast. I know as you get down there, you're getting toward Harker's Island, Emerald Isle, Havelock, Atlantic. Look at those rainfall totals, those white areas. That's our computer going, it throws white up when it's not sure how much has fallen. North of Harker's Island and Emerald Isle, I know a lot of folks have vacation homes in Emerald Isle, 8 inches of rain so far. Up by Atlantic, that's where we're seeing 9.5 inches of rain. And this thing still has at least 24 more hours of rainfall possible in that area. I mentioned the size. Look at this. Steve Stewart put this together for us. From the very southernmost point in South Carolina, as the crow flies, to the North Carolina border, it's 328 miles. Here's Florence, 560 miles wide. That thing's just a monster. As far as the rainfall totals, we checked on some of them along the coast already at 8 inches. Our southern areas, you could see the heaviest rainfall, 20 inches of rain. Southern Cumberland County, Bladen, Robinson County, southern Sampson County. The 10 to 15 inch line runs right through Lillington, and that's why Cape Fear River, they're watching for possibly a moderate flood Tuesday, Monday into Tuesday in Lillington, because as the Cape Fear runs through there, it will be rising, especially with 10 to 15 inches of rainfall. 5 to 10 inches of rainfall. We're in that 5 to 10 inch category through Wake County, and then lesser amounts as you go to the north. I've had some folks up to the north through Northampton and Halifax counties who've said to me, hey, you're not talking about our area that much. That's because we will. It's just you won't see as much rainfall up there. Here are our highest wind gusts so far. Look at Fayetteville now. I need to zoom this map out a little bit. I'll work on that next time I'm on. But Fayetteville is now showing a 51 mile an hour wind gust. 31 miles an hour at RDU. You're seeing the 40s down here. Clinton is at 48 miles an hour, 43 miles an hour in Goldsboro, 43 in Rocky Mount. But even Roxborough, you're in the 20s for wind gusts, and those wind gusts are just going to pick up as we head through the day. Your first alert predictor forecast model by lunchtime. We're still seeing 50 mile an hour wind gusts to the south, 30s through Wake County as we go into the afternoon. And by 4:30, 5 o'clock, we're still in the 50s. And I think our models are updating. Lumberton, 51 miles an hour by 10 o'clock tonight. So the wind gusts we see that start 9, 10 o'clock this morning, they're going to last all the way through midnight. And then as we go into tomorrow morning, we'll see those wind gusts still on your Saturday in the 50, 60 mile an hour range, finally starting to back down into the 30s. But by Sunday morning, you're still seeing wind gusts possible in the 30 to 40 mile an hour range down south. Live look on our North Hills camera, 75 right now with a northeast wind at 15 miles per hour. Temperatures across the region were very mild this morning. 72 Roxborough, 75 Chapel Hill and RDU, 78 in Wilson, 79 Fayetteville, 78 Lumberton, and 78 in Maxton. We look at the forecast overnight. We've seen the temperatures rain heavy at times, especially down south in the 70s. And then as we go through your Friday today, we will see those numbers in the 70s. Rain, wind at times. Saturday, anticipate rain as well. 76 degrees. It will be windy. Sunday, watching Florence. Lots of questions where Florence goes. If we can get Florence west of us and out of here, that would mean some drier weather working in. And then we're in the 80s on into next week and drying out. We'll need the dry weather by then. But I really think, guys, this is just the start of the heavier pockets of rainfall working through the triangle. I think the more steady rainfall will work as we're broadcasting about 9, 10 o'clock this morning. That's when we'll see that heavier, steadier rain working from Wayne County on into Raleigh and points west, and then that steadier rainfall with us really on into the evening hours as well.
Okay.
It's going to be here for a while.
Absolutely.
Just watching it not move.
No, it's not going to.
Okay. Thank you, Don.
Sure.
We have some brand new video from Newbern here. This is a fresh look at the extensive flooding flooding homes and apartments. They are underwater. And some more new video. Often with floods come fires. This is a house up in flames in Newbern. Don't believe anybody was injured in this, but this video is just in to us.
And we just got some information from the North Carolina Department of Public Safety. 194,202 customers in North Carolina are without power right now. You're seeing a live picture. This is This is New Hanover County. Also, 7,000 of those power outages are in Wake County. So again, we're watching not only power outages along the coast, but also right here in the Triangle. Anna Rivera is live for us in Wilmington. Do we have Anna right now? Yeah, okay, Anna, do you see, I know you said it's kind of been consistent with the rainfall, but you moved, right? Did you move locations?
We have not moved yet. We are still in Wilmington right now. We're protected by an overhang. So I'm going to step out a little bit just so you can see how strong this wind is right now. Take a look over here. We've been kind of watching this area because the lights are on and you can see how fast this wind is going. We've seen some major gusts right now coming through. Signs are being kind of whipped around by this wind. So far, oh gosh, it's whipping me around too. So far, we haven't seen much flooding from where we are. Again, this storm has been downgraded, but officials are still warning you, stay inside. This is not the time to try to venture out. Again, we're expecting to see the eye of this storm come over Wilmington at some point later on today, and it's going to be calm. So many people are going to want to come out and see what's happened from this storm. But again, stay inside because once that eye comes through, you could see another round of bad weather. See, it's been calming down, and that's how this goes. It gets really, really windy, and then it calms down a little bit. So people think that they're safe to come out, but in a moment's notice, that wind can pick up really quickly, and you don't know what is being carried in that wind. So again, stay inside. We talked to a lot of business owners that closed down earlier this week because of this storm that was coming through, and they said they were disappointed because they could have stayed open longer. But again, you never know when this could turn really quickly. We saw it go from absolutely beautiful here earlier this week to turn into these types of conditions. So again, we're going to stay here in Wilmington, kind of check out conditions around this area. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you for that. We've been watching the radar and getting updates from meteorologist Steve Stewart and from Big Weather, and it's kind of stalled. It's as Anna was saying, it's downgraded to a Category 1, but still a massive storm, 400 miles wide and also 500 yesterday, but it's just kind of hanging out on the coast, hasn't made landfall, about 30 miles outside of Wilmington, and it's bringing a lot of rain. We're seeing significant rainfall along the coast and power outages now as well.
In fact, you heard meteorologist Don Schwinneker talk about this warning from the National Weather Service. 3 locations in the Cape Fear River Basin have warnings now in response to expected heavy rainfall from Florence. All sites, including Fayetteville, can expect at least moderate flooding with serious impacts possible for the next few days. So just because right now doesn't seem like you're getting a whole lot, this is a long way from over.
And as a matter of fact, the good news is we've had so long to prepare. Businesses and individuals, people have been able to stock up on supplies and prepare. But again, it's going to be one of those things that you're talking about. We might run out of gas because trucks may not be able to get here and grocery stores may not be able to stay open. They may just not have the inventory. We've also seen some trees down in the Fayetteville area, Murkison Road, also Pecan Street near Bragg Boulevard. So we're seeing a little bit. It's happening just little by little and slowly. But again, if you don't have to get out, don't, because we may see some significant changes over hours instead of a short period of time. And we're also watching that situation in New Bern. We've got Julie Wilson and crew on the way there, but 150 people awaiting rescue in New Bern. There are 2 out-of-state FEMA teams there for swift water rescue. More are on the way. The City of New Bern and the Department of Emergency Management tweeting out, "We are coming to get you." So for those folks there, they're very concerned about it. More than 100 waiting to be rescued because of flooding that continues to rise. You know, this situation is very sensitive for a lot of people who are impacted and still being impacted by Hurricane Matthew, which was 2 years ago. And one of those areas is Lumberton. That's where Gloria Rodriguez is live for us right now. Are you still in the downtown area, Gloria?
Yes, Barbara, right now we are in the downtown area, and I'm not sure if you can hear it, but the winds really are starting to pick up right now. Check out these trees over here. You could see just swaying in the winds, and I heard Don mention a little bit ago that we're expecting those wind gusts to pick up even more later on today. So I want to walk over here and just give you a view at how it looks downtown, because there are some businesses like this one right here that you can see they have boarded up. They are prepared for Hurricane Florence. Florence. And this storefront is just one of the many down the street. Also seen some businesses that are boarded up that may be hard to see from where I am right now, but there's a business right behind there that is boarded up, as well as a gas station when we drove into town this morning. Now, of course, Lumberton was really affected by Hurricane Matthew just about 2 years ago. Those images you probably remember of rescues that were actually being conducted out here, helicopters, boats that were rescuing people. And there are about 750 people here in Lumberton who are still displaced from Hurricane Matthew. We've heard of people still living in trailers, of communities with houses that have been abandoned because of Hurricane Matthew. So Hurricane Florence, of course, a major concern here. I want to just kind of show you around town. Of course, it is very early, so it's pretty dark out here. There's not obviously too much activity out here at this time, but do want to mention that Robeson County is under a curfew, and so you're really not going to see too much activity past 8 o'clock because of that curfew that is currently in effect in Robeson County. Of course, there are concerns in general with possible power outages here in the community, and flooding is going to be a major concern. Just down the street, we drove by a few minutes ago where the Lumber River is, and that river overflowed its banks during Hurricane Matthew, sent a lot of the water into town. And so again, that is going to be another concern that officials are going to be watching, the Lumber River, watching the levels there. And although it's dry right now, that of course could change. They're expecting a lot of rain in this area. I read somewhere that they're expecting, I think it was a few months worth of rain in just a few days. So that can have a major impact here in Lumberton. So we'll stay out here all morning long. We'll bring you the very latest. Back to the studio.
Gloria, thank you.
Hurricane Florence remained a weakened Category 1 hurricane with a maximum 90-mile-per-hour winds, but still a dangerous storm. And the thing is, slow moving. The system is moving northwest. It's east of Wilmington now, about 30 miles at only 6 miles per hour. So it's just inching along, and that is not a good thing when it comes to hurricanes.
No, and I think Don said the steering winds, is that right? The steering winds are no longer present, so it's got no...
It's drifting. Yeah.
So, yeah. Just hanging out, and we would rather she get on out of here.
Absolutely.
All right, let's...
But we're glad that Kim Diener is here.
Yes.
She's at the tag
Good
board now
morning.
talking about social media.
Talking about social media, it's one of my favorite things, if you know me. We're going to start with some of the pictures and videos and tweets that you guys have sent in to us. I want to start with this one out of New Bern. This is the city of New Bern. So they're currently with 150 awaiting rescue in New Bern. They have 2 out-of-state FEMA teams there for swift water rescue. More on the way to help them. We are coming to get you, so they just want you to know that they're on their way to get you and that you need to move to the 2nd floor, to the attic, but we're coming to get you as fast as we can. So that's obviously a very serious situation. This is from Judge Mike Moore. Absolutely heartbroken to see the devastating flooding that's happening because of Hurricane Florence in his hometown of New Bern. And I did weather for the very first time. My first meteorology job was in the eastern part of the state in New Bern, Little Washington. Those are just areas in Oriental that get inundated with not only all the heavy rain, but all of the flooding from the Pamlico River. And as the hurricane continues to sit there and just push water into the sounds, those sounds then push the water into the rivers, and they flood everything. Really hard to get around there. As the team left Greenville this morning, it was hard not knowing what the circumstances will be like when they come back. That's so true. So many great people in all of the parts of North Carolina. You are all in our prayers, and that's from Holden Allers. I'm going to mess up somebody's name, I'm sure, today, so please forgive me. So let's get on and move it up a little bit so we can get to see a few more. This is Chanel in Life. The family's in town for Hurricane Florence from the coast, and that looks like a absolutely adorable family right there. I'm sure she means extended family, but everybody brought their babies. All right, let's pull up this is a video. I'm told that we don't have sound for it, but you can see obviously a whole lot of rain. This is the East Carolinian, the paper weather update. Florence outer rain bands reach Greenville area, which Greenville's another place that really has a lot of issues because of flooding. All right, here we go. Let's look at something cute just for a little bit. Look at that baby. Come at me, Flo. We're ready for you. Goose the doodle. I love everybody has dogs that are so cute and they can walk them places. I cannot do that because my dog bites, but I will enjoy your dogs. All right, so this is from Meg Cat Fan. Thank you to all that have reached out in the past few days. It warms my heart to hear from so many of you. We are stocked and ready to ride out the storm. They're just expecting heavy rain. Walked around a little bit tonight. So they're in Charleston. It's so cute. Let's see what else we have here today. This is from Julian G922. This marks the 3rd straight year that a major hurricane has struck a place that I had just recently vacationed. This is the view as you walk into, into Topsail Beach where they were staying. He spent a couple of nights on the way to Florida. You can't beat Topsail Beach. Topsail Beach, takes a beating when these hurricanes come in, especially from this angle. So I'm not sure. And then you all got you got Chick-fil-A. Somebody else got Bojangles yesterday. I always miss out on the Bojangles food. So this is, 69% of Bojangles locations could be hit. Hopefully that's not the case, but I do know that Bojangles was trending yesterday because of everyone wanting biscuits, and then some people did get them and not me. So I don't know, is it time to me to throw to Steve Stewart? Sure. No? John and Barbara.
Okay. I like watching those tweets and whatnot, especially the memes of Florence. You have Florence Henderson and then Flo from back in the day.
Yes, well, this is something a little more serious. Rob Marciano, he's one of the meteorologists with ABC News. He's reporting 200,000 without power in North Carolina. And Morgan Norwood has moved to downtown Fayetteville, where some of the businesses have boarded up. Morgan, we had talked about wind gusts of 50 miles per hour or more there in Fayetteville. Are you feeling that?
I am starting to feel some of the high winds here. We are starting to get some rain, but for the most part, John, as you mentioned, high winds here in downtown Fayetteville. And for that reason, as you mentioned, businesses boarding up. Guys, this is probably a first that I've seen for Fayetteville. I do not remember this during Hurricane Matthew. I was talking to Bob just a few minutes ago. We boarded up in Florida. That's where my previous market was. Put the sandbags down, all of that good stuff when we had Hurricane Hermine, followed by Hurricane Matthew a few weeks later. But it's obvious people are making these preparations in anticipation of those gusty winds that are only expected to pick up. I mean, we showed you the pictures and the videos if you were with us in the last hour of the tree down on Murchison Road, the tree down on Bragg Boulevard, taking out those telephone and cable lines. So we can only expect to see more of this, and I think that's why many downtown businesses, Person Street is where I am now. We saw the same on Hay Street right next to the ABC11 Eyewitness News Center. A lot of people taking precautions, boarding up to make sure that there's no debris or anything flying into their windows. I mean, all of these businesses, small businesses here in downtown, that is their livelihood, so they want to protect these things at all costs. So again, we're going to keep an update and keep you updated both on air and online as far as the conditions here. But again, this is the first from what I have seen in my 2 years here in Fayetteville, downtown Fayetteville. We're live here. Morgan Norwood, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
All right, Morgan, thank you. Meteorologist Steve Stewart's with us now. So we were talking to Don earlier how interesting this storm is, just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, and we always talk about, a lot of folks have been asking us, well, why is it so hard, to tell where it's going to go? And there's so many variables, but the number one, if you take say you're in a bathtub and you have a little boat with a little wind sail on it and you blow on it, it's going to go straight ahead, right?
Right.
Well, when you stop, the boat stops when you stop blowing on it, right? So the point is we lost the steering currents. The high pressure broke down, so the storm just comes almost to a stop. It's just creeping along. Then the winds are going to pick up again from a different area of high pressure, which start to take over, pushing it south and then around a new high pressure, which scoots all the way around central North Carolina. But the storm is so big that we're going to feel the effects anyway.
Do steering currents just stop this soon in the progression of a hurricane as it's close to making landfall?
Yeah, a lot of times, yeah. But also, and a lot of folks say, no, it's only a Category 1. Well, first of all, no, they always weaken as they come closer to land. Because before the eye gets to land, half of the storm is over land.
Right.
It's losing its fuel, and it's also got friction from the land, which is going to make it the wind slower. So there are things they always weaken as they get closer. But the issue here is storm surge along the coast and rainfall, which which we've been taunting from this whole time.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to be dealing with Florence. So let me go ahead and, Don back here with me. We're doing some detailed analysis, looking closely at this storm and the eye very, very close now to the coast. You can see right in this vicinity here. So we could be talking about landfall here pretty soon, and then slowly creeping across the southern part of the state, just north there of Wilmington potentially, as the storm is very slow moving right now. Right now it's moving, it says, at 6 miles an hour. That's as of the 5 a.m. update. Winds at 90. It's 25 miles east of Wilmington right now and really close to the coast, potentially holding to hurricane strength as we go through around 2 o'clock this afternoon. Inland areas, look how slow it's going to lumber along. This is tonight at around 2 o'clock in the morning just north of Myrtle Beach, and then by 2 o'clock Saturday it's going to be pushing down south, maybe getting closer to Columbia, and these areas are going to have extensive flooding and more damage than we're going to have. But we're still, the storm is so big, we're going to see extensive rain pushed up over the area, especially in our sand hills, and the winds are going to be persistent for a while. Then we have to turn our attention to the mountains. They could get significant rain as well, even though it's going to be just an area of low pressure at that point, a remnant low. But we're going to see incredible amount of rainfall, probably some flooding concerns out around Asheville and Boone, and eventually moves up into West Virginia. But notice how it's kind of moving around us. We'll do an explainer a little bit later on about those winds that we were talking about, the steering current. So maybe that'll make a little more sense to you. So look at the eye wall. This is the eye wall right here, which is pushing up onto land. So the gusts are the strongest right now, getting reports of gusts at around 80 plus miles an hour. And this band here, just non-stop heavy rain now just coming all the way in there to the Crystal Coast. And that's pushing that water farther back. That's why we're seeing extensive inland flooding right now. But there's a closer shot, that eye wall pushing onshore now. The eye officially still off the coast, still hasn't made landfall just yet. Now, we've been dealing with some heavy bands moving on through, too. Earlier, Don was on with 2 tornado warnings this morning with this batch of showers. Now, it's obviously not tornado anymore, but some heavy rain moving fast. These are moving at about 45 miles an hour. So with these bands that are moving through, Wilson, you're getting a shower, then a break, and then another shower. But look how this line is setting up right here. You see this band? That's very heavy rainfall coming down. And we're going to see this not only today, but tomorrow. These bands moving on through. And your neighborhood might get one that moves on through. Really heavy rain, a quick 1/4 inch, but not much of a break, and another one comes. And before you know it, the ground is saturated, and then here comes another one, and before you know it, you have flash flooding concerns. That's why we're under that flash flood watch, and for most of the area. We're not under a tornado watch yet. I wouldn't be surprised if this is expanded farther west later on, but most of the viewing area now, except our extreme northern counties, dealing with that flash flood watch in effect until basically most of the entire state, except our extreme northern counties, until Saturday evening. It's going to be a long time potential with this flooding. So let's break it down now and let's show you some different models. This is the European model. I'm going to show you about 4 models, and then we're going to take the consensus of that. It's pretty easy to see. Heaviest south and lesser amounts north. And you don't have to really look at these numbers because they could be off by as much as 4 or 5. But the idea is heavier rain south, lesser amount north. The GFS, very similar to the European model. The NAM, the North American model, very similar as well. And our in-house model, well, we're missing the data there. We've been missing some. But the point is now we're dealing with what we think is the lesser amounts will be to the north, but still significant, 3 to 5 inches around Roxborough. But this swath here near Raleigh at 5 to 10, and then significantly more rain farther off to the south. Let's break it down even further. Put some towns on there for you. Roxborough, Oxford, South Hill, Norlina, and over into Roanoke Rapids. These are areas where we're in that 3 to 5 inch range. Winds won't be as much of a factor, but you'll have gusts at 30 to 35. And this is for about a 30-hour period. This isn't just for a couple of hours. This is a long extended period. Durham, the Triangle, Chapel Hill, Pittsboro, Raleigh included, Wake Forest, and Lewisburg. We're at that 20 to 30 mile an hour sustained wind at times later today and tonight. Gusts at 35 to 40 miles an hour. Hi, Kim. How you doing? Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You can keep going. Everyone got a good shot at your hair looking great this morning. All right. gusts to 30 or 35 or 40 miles an hour. And then as we get farther south, this is where it really starts to become serious, right? High impacts to increased threat to life and property. And this is Lillington, Holly Springs, Sanford, Wendell included, Smithfield, Wilson, and Tarboro in this red shade. And we might have to adjust this north or south, but you get the idea. As we go south, all the parameters go up. Right, 10 to 15 inches of rain, wind gusts to 50. Farther south, all these parameters keep going up. So the threat to life and property is going to be extreme in these areas. Very dangerous flooding, a major concern. And of course, power outages too, right? When you have the wind, it's just common sense, the model picking up on that. The farther south you are, the more probable of some sporadic power outages. Widespread power outages along the coast obviously are likely. Along the coast, the buoys right now showing swells at around 12, 15, 20 feet. And again, that water's getting pushed on shore. But notice how quick that these huge swells are going to be coming down as we go through the next 12 hours or so. So this is now, and we'll take you to noon. You see the bigger swell starting to come down, still significant and still being pushed on shore and moving up those rivers. I'll show you that flooding potential with the surge in a second. And then as we get into Friday night, even less, and then as we get into tomorrow morning, even less. So the peak of that surge is going to happen over the next 12 hours or so. And you can see up Queens Creek there. Note the numbers, 5-7 foot surge all the way up potentially to Swansboro, Jacksonville too. Not as bad. Where it gets bad is along the Neuse River. Right, so that could be pushed all the way back. We've been already talking about all the people needing rescuing in New Bern with massive flooding going on. And that pushes all the way back possibly to Kinston. And don't forget, the river's still flowing in here. So as it's coming in and then the ocean's coming the other way, you just have no way of where this water is going to go. And so it's going to be spilling its banks there. So that's going to be the major concern that we're seeing this morning along this river. Not as bad, but still notable from Washington over to Greenville. Flooding expected there at around 7 to 10 foot surge. Lesser amounts farther north around the Roanoke River. So the biggest impacts are going to be just there to the south. Now let's talk about some winds. It's our in-house model. Gusts at 60 to 70 for us in our viewing area by midday today. Potential gusts around 50 miles an hour in our Sandhills, 30 to 40 around the Triangle. And that's just consistent. Again, this isn't a sustained wind. These are gusts, which you can have a gust and not have another gust for a couple of minutes, but you get the idea. So the gusts could push up 20, 30 Triangle tonight. 40, 50 down in the Sandhills, and that's consistent all the way through tomorrow morning. And even in the afternoon, we still have a swath of stronger winds south, lesser gusts to the north, but persistent like this can easily be pushing a number of trees down. Right, we have so many trees around here, so a couple of trees go down, and then after that you're dealing with power outages, or at least the potential if those hit power lines. And then finally by Sunday 2 in the afternoon, it's still breezy out there, but not nearly as bad, and it gets even better as we go later on. So quickly, temperatures for today will be in the 70s, gusty winds, the rain will be heavy at times with some of those squalls coming in. I expect a similar thing tonight with temperatures in the 70s. And notice too, we've got a ways to go today, tomorrow, and then Sunday improving, still showers around, but as we get later in the week we go back to sunshine. It's going to be really nice to dry things out as we get in the middle part of the week. Barbara?
All right, thank you, Steve. All right, Bridget Condon is live for us now at the Emergency Operations Center in downtown Raleigh, and you've got an update from an official there, right?
Yeah, Barbara and John, we're waiting to hear from Governor Cooper. He's going to be speaking this morning at 11 a.m. Obviously, a lot to come since he last spoke to us yesterday at 5, but there are more than 200,000 power outages across the state of North Carolina right now. Right now, I am joined by Pam Walker, the spokesperson for the State Emergency Response Team. You've been here since 7 o'clock last night. Just walk us through what you guys have been doing for the overnight and in the early morning hours.
So we're getting reports from all across the state. Predominantly right now it's in the coastal region and some areas inland, such as Craven County, New Bern area. We're also monitoring the power outages. We're monitoring social media. We're getting resource requests here at the Emergency Operations Center from other counties and first responders from across the state that are letting us know what type of resources they need.
Where are you guys sending the majority of your rescues right now?
Well, right now, actually, before the storm, we had flood mapping, and we were able to determine areas that would be in the most danger of flooding and surge from the surf. And so we were able to pre-position teams, the swift water rescue teams, the search and rescue teams, in those areas to be prepared to conduct these rescues. But the situation that we have now with the high winds, and it's dark, and the torrential rains that are coming down, it's really not safe for the first responders and these teams to actually conduct these rescues. Now, I do know that there are some that are going on, but they are highly trained and they're dedicated, so I know they're going to do everything they can to get to people as quickly as they can.
Now, for people who are in situations that it's not safe to send first responders, obviously we've seen video from New Bern where waters are really becoming so high and all that flooding is becoming so dangerous. What do you urge people in those situations that maybe can't, connect with a first responder right now to do?
Well, I mean, of course, we always encourage everyone to call 911 if you possibly can. Unfortunately, I think in some circumstances that the 911 centers may be getting overwhelmed. I ask people to just hunker down. Don't try and venture out on your own. It's still dark. You may not be able to see what's not in front of you or what is in front of you. So I just encourage people to be careful. If you must venture out, and if you find that you are outside, we ask that people watch the water, in the situation with the water. Turn around, don't drown. Flood waters can kill.
Now, this storm obviously has been moving very slowly. We've been preparing for it, talking about it on the air for over about a week right now. Is it better for you guys that it's going slower, or is that actually creating more issues?
Actually, it's going to create catastrophic flooding. We anticipate that the rain could last into early next week, and the slower the storm and the more rain that it dumps across our state, and we were already saturated as it was, so we are very concerned about the flooding situation.
And obviously, you guys are trying to rescue people from their homes, people from the streets, but how do you make sure that the first responders and the rescue teams stay safe themselves?
They are, like I said, they are very highly trained, experienced, and they know what they're doing. We have teams from all across the country and even Canada, and we appreciate those that have come here to North Carolina to assist our teams that are already here, and we just ask them to use their best judgment and be safe.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything you've done, and hopefully you can get some sleep here in the next few hours before the storm really hits the triangle.
Thank you.
Guys, again, we are at the EOC. Governor Cooper is supposed to be here around 11 a.m. with an update. He's going to address some of the, obviously, New Bern. A lot has happened there since he last spoke here at 5 p.m. yesterday. We will keep you updated on ABC11.com and obviously bring you more information when we get it. For now, we're live at the EOC. Bridget Condon, ABC11 Eyewitness News.
Bridget, thank you. And again, they were talking about the New Bern area, Craven County area, and we've been getting updates. So this is not even the latest, that 150 people were waiting rescue. No injuries or casualties so far. And again, this was earlier today that trees and power lines are down, and reports of people on their roofs, in their cars awaiting rescue. At least 18,000 customers without power in the New Bern area, and I'm sure that has risen. Yeah, in fact, Candace Gibson of ABC News said the Craven County, North Carolina Director of Emergency Management just told them that the situation is dire. So if you have a prayer out for those folks in the Craven County, New Bern area, now would be a good time to offer it. Our coverage continues after this. You're watching live coverage of Hurricane Florence on ABC 11.
Welcome back to ABC 11 Eyewitness News extended coverage of Hurricane Florence. It's 5 o'clock on a Friday now and 75 degrees.
Okay, the hurricane is still Category 1. It is stalled off our coast about 30 miles outside of Wilmington and hasn't really moved at all. So it's dumping a tremendous amount of rain in our coastal communities. We're seeing a lot of dire situations in Craven County, New Bern area. People reportedly on their roofs in their cars waiting to be rescued. We've got a crew on the way there to New Bern, and we're going to get you updated right now. Jacksonville area has gotten 8 inches of rain. ABC's Victor Aquindo is there and has this report.
It's been a busy morning and a very long night here. These winds are only getting stronger. This rain has just been relentless. You kind of see that just washing right across the shot right now. It's really just whipping me right in the face. The reported wind gust here at last check right around 76 miles per hour. And it's only getting worse. Here in Jacksonville, we are about 20 miles away from the coast, but here there are reports of major structural damage to homes and businesses. You guys saw what happened at that local high school here. Just a few hours ago, we were down near the New River, near the mouth of it, close to the shore, and that leads all the way up through the city of Jacksonville. That's going to be basically a 1-2 punch for these people here, where you're going to get the initial hit from the storm, and then the major concern is obviously that storm surge as another huge wind gust comes through here right now in Jacksonville. That storm surge, as I'm going to try to move closer, get next to this wall here. Guys, that's what we've been dealing with all night long. You could hear those winds and the rain just pounding against the window and the walls of our hotel here in Jacksonville, where the power went out very early on. But as I was saying, that storm surge, it could possibly be up to 11 feet. Officials telling me that they are bracing for an unprecedented amount of rain. In rainfall alone, they could be looking at right around 3 feet as well. Here in Onslow County, they actually didn't even open up any shelters. They were busing people inland, further inland, to get to other shelters in other counties, getting them out of this area. We did see and meet some people that decided to ride this storm out. We always come across those folks, but the advice to everyone was to get out of town. But obviously at this point, with the eye wall as close to the coast as it is right now, if you have not left at this point, it is way too late. Just driving back into Jacksonville last night from Sneed's Ferry, which again is along the New River near the mouth of it, we saw a bunch of transformers blowing. We saw those sparks flying in the air. Gas station canopies ripped right off, and I'm sure that once daylight comes, you'll be able to see just a lot more damage, because these winds have just been relentless, and the rains, again, very strong and only picking up over here.
Victor Oquendo in Jacksonville, where he's experiencing wind gusts of 70 miles an hour.
Almost 70 miles an hour down there now. Yeah, I mean, that's almost hurricane force.
And the reports from Craven County, the New Bern area, that's just, and this is why they tell you to evacuate.
Absolutely. We were talking yesterday about even 2 days ago in New Bern. Let's see, today is Friday, so Wednesday we had possible storm surge forecast of up to 15 feet in that area. It's gone down to 11 feet, and you're still seeing problems with 11 feet for that forecast.
It's
so
terrifying.
Hopefully people were heeding that warning, and evidently some folks did not get out. Around here, we're not seeing the brunt of the storm just yet. I think we will as we go through the day. This is going to be a long storm. Usually when we're doing snow coverage or another like Hugo's a perfect example. When Hugo came through, that was in North Carolina, and in 24 hours later, it was almost in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, it raced through.
We're used to them kind of flying.
Yeah, and then they're done. This thing could last today, tomorrow, and possibly we could still see effects from it on Sunday.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Good morning to you. Let's show you the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Hurricane Florence, still 90 miles an hour, located 5 miles closer now, 25 miles east of Wilmington, North Carolina. Pressure's gone up a little. That means it's weakened a little, but not enough to really make a dent in this monster. I just tweeted out a picture of the radar. We'll take a look at the radar in just a moment, but the eye wall now hitting near Wilmington. Let's show you what's going on, the outer effects of the eye wall. Show you what's going on with Florence and its path. Now, here's the problem. This is what I was just talking about with John and Barbara. Saturday, Tomorrow morning, we're looking at like 21 hours from now. This thing is still in North Carolina by lunchtime tomorrow. By the way, this is an updated path. This is the 5 a.m. update. So everybody wants the update. This is the latest update. It looks like at this point, it still could go through southern Bladen County, but the path, the center line keeps it south of there along the coast. It is showing a chance of it making landfall now through Wilmington. It could drift down here back into the ocean. It could drift north. But by tomorrow at lunchtime, this thing would be inland and it would be starting to die a little bit. That would be good news. The rain would be shutting off, especially if it tracks further south toward Columbia, South Carolina, and here by Saturday night. That would pull that rain shield away from us and give us relief. But all day today, we're going to see showers. And then this thing goes by Monday morning, Sunday night into Monday morning. It could be near Boone, but it could be as far west as East Tennessee. And then the outer edge, Louisville's starting to come into play now with that as it moves away. Here are the latest watches and warnings from the National Weather Service. We have a hurricane warning for Wayne County. These were all just updated. They're continuing all of them. There haven't really been any big changes in our area. We're seeing hurricane warnings for Wayne County, Clinton, Sampson County, and then into Bladen County. That means in those counties, we expect wind gusts anywhere from 74 miles an hour or, sustained winds, 74 miles an hour or greater. Now we have a tropical storm warning for Tarboro, Wilson County, Edgecombe County, into Nash, Franklin, Wake County, Johnston. This includes Harnett County, Lee, Chatham, down into Moore County, Hoke County, and then we go down into Cumberland County. And I know we've got Gloria Rodriguez down into Robinson County. Those folks are under tropical storm warning. You could see wind gusts in upwards of 70 miles an hour in Lumberton. Here are the latest flood watches and warnings. Now the Burgundy area off here to the east, they are all under flash flood warnings from New Bern down to Emerald Isle, all the way down along the coast. We have flash flood watches in effect through Sunday now that include the city of Raleigh, Durham, into Alamance County, Orange County, and Chatham County, all added while you were sleeping to that flash flood watch. Let's look at radar and show you where the heaviest rain is. Right now, live look at First Alert Doppler. We see some of the outer bands kicking in. The timing of this has actually been our models have done a nice job on the timing of this over the past 12 hours. When I left work yesterday at lunchtime, it showed the steady rainfall arriving between 5 and 7 a.m. It's 5 a.m., the steady rainfall through Nash County, the heavier rainfall down to the south and to the east. We see this heavy band now from Fayetteville to Newton Grove into western Wayne, and that's sliding off. So northern Sampson County about to get hit with some heavy rain, light to moderate rain working through portions of Wake County. Zoom it down to the south even further, and there's the eye wall as it approaches Wilmington. The outer edge of the eye just getting ready to work toward Wilmington. I think landfall, it looks like, will be somewhere north of Wilmington, right through this area would be my guess, is where the National Hurricane Center shows it going in officially. But then it could drift off to the south, and it pulls all that rain across with it as we go through the next several hours. Let's look at wind gusts. These are official wind gusts so far. Readings taken over the past. This updates every 15 minutes on our computer. We did see a wind gust over 50 miles an hour earlier. Latest wind gust down in Fayetteville is at 46 miles an hour, 24 miles an hour at RDU, 36 in Sanford, 35 in Wilson, and 40 in Clinton. So most of the winds out of the north or northeast. But look at, these are the wind barbs, these little particles that kind of show which way the wind is blowing. Look how they tighten up as we get near the coast. So let's check some wind gusts along the coast. These are from buoys along the coast, and you'll notice toward the outer banks, they've really escaped the brunt of the high winds. They're seeing 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts in the outer banks. When you get down toward Jackson, almost 70 miles an hour. The one just off the coast of Wilmington, the highest wind gust now so far, 78 miles an hour with this particular one. Some of the wind gusts earlier were up near 100 miles an hour. So the winds have weakened a little bit as this starts to interact with land. We check on Florence in our First Alert Predictor forecast model, and where is this thing going? This is our in-house model. I think it did a nice job with this yesterday, and it shows the rain 7 a.m. to lunchtime. The eye wall making landfall somewhere near Wilmington and then pushing off to the south and to the west. Heavier rain bands still being wrapped around this. Raleigh's in the rain at lunchtime. As we move this ahead, we'll see those heavier rain bands continuing to kick up, 5, 6 o'clock tonight, we are still seeing heavier showers. Then as we go through 10 o'clock tonight, the heavier showers working through into tomorrow morning, 3:30 in the morning, some showers. And then as we go into 8 o'clock, look, even though the eye is still down here, we're still drawing the moisture right off that very warm ocean water. And that still brings us such a chance at heavy rainfall as we go through the day on Saturday, especially the southern counties on Saturday. By lunchtime, we see those showers. And then as we go into Saturday, into Sunday, that goes away. We get toward the edge of our model data there. How much rain are we talking? I've had several people write me already this morning. What are we talking about rainfall where I live? Well, this is a map. This is the forecast from the National Weather Service. 2 to 4 inches of rain in those northern counties, 3 to 5 inches, northern Wake counties in that kind of 5-inch category. Southern Wake County start to get closer to 10 inches possible, 10 to 15 inches through the Sandhills, and then Bladen and Robeson County, 20 plus inches of rain. Because of that, the National Weather Service has already issued river flood warnings for Monday and Tuesday for Cape Fear River, both in Fayetteville and the Cape Fear at Wilmington. They could go into moderate flood stages, and we'll be watching for that Monday into Tuesday. That is not based on any rainfall we've seen. That's just based on the potential for rainfall. The river gauge forecasts show over 20 feet along the Cape Fear in Wilmington. Potential impacts from the storm. Let's look to the north first. 3 to 5 inches of rain. This is a great graphic. I'm glad Steve Stewart put this together because people will say, like when I do a Facebook Live, people will say to me, I live in this town. What does it mean? I live in this town. And we can't always get to all of the towns. But this shows some of the towns in all of the counties. So let's go through the different segments and we'll cover your neighborhood or at least your county and talk about what you're seeing. Northern counties from Burlington to Roxborough on up to Roanoke Rapids. You've got elevated impacts. It'll be a little higher than normal with a storm. You'll see wind gusts 30, 35 miles an hour, and you will see 3 to 5 inches of rain kind of through that swath. Now we go south. Now we're talking Wake County, Durham, Orange County, Burlington, Alamance, down into Chatham County, and then off toward Halifax. These areas could see 5 to 10 inches of rain. Winds sustained 20 to 30, could even go higher than that. Now that we've been added to the tropical storm warning, I think we'll up this because we could see sustained winds 40 to 50 miles an hour actually in this spot. Gusts could go 50 to 60 in isolated areas in the southern part of that orange area. 10 to 15 inches of rain. This will be high impact. This is southern Wake County, mainly Harnett County, down into Hoke and Moore and Lee, and then off toward Wilson, Edgecombe, Nash counties. Those is Johnston County. Those areas will see 10, possibly up to 15 inches of rain on the southern side of this. Wind gusts could go 60 miles an hour. So we're going to update this with some higher wind gusts. But there's your rainfall. And then you go south from Goldsboro, Wayne County, Sampson, Cumberland into southern Hoke, and then into Bladen and Robeson counties. This is extreme impact from the weather, significant threat on life and property. 10 to 20 inches of rain. Wind gusts, we've got 60 to 70 miles an hour. There could go even a little bit higher because Goldsboro, you're in that hurricane warning. You could see sustained winds 70 miles an hour. You could see wind gusts 75, 80 miles an hour there and in southern Sampson County. And then as we look alive into the city of Durham, we just had a heavy batch of rain work through, dropped 1/10 of an inch in about 2 minutes. But there's the other story, the winds sustained northeast 15. We've seen this sustained up around 20 miles an hour, and those gusts have gone even higher. Current temperatures across the region running in the 70s, 72 Roxborough, 75 Chapel Hill, RDU, 73 in Oxford. We're in the 70s down south, 76 in Clinton, 78 in Lumberton. The rain is with us. Your 7-day forecast powered by AccuWeather showing temperatures tomorrow back into the mid 70s as well. I think we'll still be in heavy rain tomorrow morning. It's dissipating by late tomorrow into Sunday. Sunday, I put watching Florence in there. The potential is still there to see heavy rainfall on Sunday. Monday, 82, and then it clears out and we get some dry time, and we'll need it to clean and to dry out. Temperatures in the mid 80s all the way into the middle part of next week. But that eye wall, guys, again, approaching, it is approaching the coast. And I think down in Wilmington, they will see the highest wind gusts they will see in the next hour or two as that gets closer and that eye wall interacts. Bad news is it makes landfall. The good news is it interacts more with land. It should start to weaken the storm a little bit more.
Yeah. While you were doing your update on the forecast, we've gotten some new information as well. Rescues in the New Bern area. There are 34 cases of rescues right now involving 122 people, and more people have lost power. It's now at 280,000 and 76 customers without power statewide.
People.
Yeah, and 7,000 at last update in Wake County. It could be more than that.
Absolutely. And we've been talking about the situation in Robeson County. Gloria Rodriguez is in Lumberton, where they could get 20+ inches of rain. Gloria, is it raining right now where you are?
It just started raining, John, probably in the last 20 minutes or so, and those winds starting to pick up even more. I want you to check this out because right now it's actually kind of calm compared to what we've seen in the last hour, but the trees, of course, have been swaying in the wind. And then if you look up here, you'll see some of those traffic lights that are also moving around right now, but not as dramatic as it was a little earlier, and as what we're expecting to see even later on today, with the wind gusts really picking up later on. But right behind me, that's where the Lumber River is. And so I want to show you that, and also show you how they have blocked off a part of that road. This is Water Street here near 5th Street. And so obviously concerns about flooding due to the Lumber River. Of course, during Hurricane Matthew just 2 years ago, that river overflowed its banks and really caused a lot of flooding here in Lumberton. A lot of people still displaced at this time because of Hurricane Matthew, and they had to do so many rescues here in the area a few years ago. And so a lot of residents have evacuated the area. They don't want to take a chance that what happened during Matthew could happen again during Hurricane Florence. And so people have left, but we've also heard of some people that are sticking around here and that are going to ride out the storm here, Hurricane Florence. So right now we're not really seeing the major impacts yet, but we are expecting that we could possibly see them later on today, and hopefully not, but there could be some more flooding because of the Lumber River that overflowed during Hurricane Matthew. So we'll keep a close eye out here, and of course officials will as well, and we'll let you know the very latest from Lumberton. Back to the studio.
Appreciate our live crews out there from the Triangle to the coast. Also, we're getting a lot of information, as you can imagine, on social media. Kim Diener is following that with us, and you just got a tweet from the New Bern area where there are a lot of rescues going on right now.
A lot of rescues going on, and we're going to talk about those coming up in just a little bit, Barbara. I'm going to handle what's happening on the roads right now, even in the eastern part of the state. But yes, that's New Bern that's dealing with the flooding and the water rescue. So New Bern's always one of the first places to flood. That's also the case for Little Washington. I mean, those are just areas that the rivers are fed. The water feeds into those rivers from the sound. The ocean pushes the water into the sound, pushes that water up on the banks, and folks, even if they live in low-lying areas and they're used to flooding, sometimes they'll go to another place that hasn't flooded in 100 years, and they find that this particular storm just did a better job at getting all of that water into the sound and up into the river, and it's flooded. So it always happens, and it's so scary, and I feel for those folks in the eastern part of the state, and I just know that they're hanging on and waiting for help, and they'll be okay. They've lived there, most of them, for years. They know these things happen, but no one wants to be on the roof of their home worried about whether someone can rescue them. So all that comes to my mind, Harvey and Katrina, with people on top of their roofs just waiting to be rescued. So hopefully we'll get some more information on those that happening in New Bern right now. I'm sure it's going to be the case in a lot of places along the eastern part of our state this morning. Now, this is a road weather index. It just lets me know where we're seeing ponding out on the roads and where we're seeing rain falling, fog, ice. It's a wealth of information, and you see I've got the whole state pulled up right now. Obvious, a whole lot of green on the maps, and the blue areas is where we have the ponding, and that's where we're seeing just flooded roads. So I thought we would take a look at a few incidents that we have that have been reported to the 911 center. We'll start in Cumberland County, where we do have roads blocked because of trees and downed power cables. This particular one, Pecan Drive, both ways between Barrington Cross and Pool Drive. So if you live in the Fayetteville area, you know about that road. Now we go into Sampson County. We've got, again, another road block due to trees down and power cables down, so that's causing some issues. And this is into Little Washington. And the reason I pull this up is because we're going to hear a lot about Little Washington today too, just like New Bern, because it just is horrible when it floods. This is where I first did my meteorology, my first job ever on television, and this is just an area where they get high winds and they have a lot of flooding. So Wichards Beach currently flooded right now. You can't get to that area. Back here at home, we're not seeing a lot of ponding on the road, just haven't seen heavy enough rain to cause that yet, but a foggy morning and a windy morning this morning, and roads are wet. They're just not ponding as of yet. So if you live in Stem, Butner, Mount Energy, Tar River, all the way up into the northern part of our viewing area, that's where we're seeing some of the heavier rain bands, or have seen this morning, and that's why they're dealing with the wetter roads. And of course, we're going to continue to see this area south of the Triangle, Cumberland County, Sampson County, Harnett County, down into Lee County. All of these areas are not only going to continue to see the wet roads and the foggy conditions, but and the windy weather. We're going to see that ponding on the road. So again, they tell you not to drive in situations like this, and if you're flying out of RDU, I haven't had a chance to look, but I think most flights out of RDU were canceled yesterday. But I'm going to bring you up to date on what you can expect out of RDU in just a moment, but call ahead if you were planning on leaving this morning. So Barbara and John, it's just one of those situations where we're going to continue to see the worst case scenarios coming in from the eastern part of the state, and that's just always what's so sad when hurricanes hit, and then it's going to be our issue as we move into the latter part of the day.
Indeed, it is. And from what our last report from RDU, there were 400 flights scheduled to go in and out of RDU today. Okay. And a lot of them, half maybe had canceled. They were saying Delta is the most reliable at this point to maybe get flights in and out. But yeah, as Kim was saying, call ahead. Southwest canceled all of its flights.
Yes. Definitely want to call ahead.
Yes, indeed.
All right, let's go back out to our live crews now. Anna Rivera just tweeted about 10 minutes ago, the wind and rain really starting to pick up in Wilmington, and I can see that from the pictures right now. Anna, over to you.
Absolutely. It's definitely gotten much worse since the last time we talked to you guys. Big Weather tweeting at me that the eye wall was on its way, and it definitely appears that that's the case. We are we're next to a very strong protected building under an overhang. Just take a look. You can see how strong this building is, and the wind is actually wrapping around it. But I'm going to step out into this to show you what we're experiencing right here in Wilmington. Very strong winds, very heavy rain. Now, the reason we set up here is if you take a look across the street, there's a car dealership over there, and you can see how they have their cars up against that building, very similar to what we've done as well to set up here and try to get some protection from the building. But this rain is hitting me hard because the wind is pushing it really hard into me. So this is the eye wall coming into North Carolina. You see these gusts are almost knocked my photographer over just a second ago. So we have heavy gusts. So even though this has been downgraded to Category 1, keep in mind that there are some very dangerous and serious conditions. So stay inside while you can. John and Barbara.
All right, Anna, thank you for that report. I'll get to some safety, and we'll get an update from them as the storm progresses. Right now, Morgan Norwood is in downtown Fayetteville for us with the latest on the conditions there. The last time we talked to you, I think the rain was starting to pick up a little bit. Is it still raining?
Yeah, it's kind of on and off, John, Barbara, for the most part. But I want to show you something here. The gutters, though, as I mentioned, that rain on and off, working overtime. The ponding on the roads is what Kim was talking about. It's what we can expect here in downtown Fayetteville. I showed you the creek early this morning that's known to flood. I also showed you the winds that had been picking up, blowing down those trees that we saw in Bragg Boulevard and Pecan Drive. I also showed you another one off of Murchison Road. And so, again, we're talking about downtown Fayetteville. You can see the trees kind of swaying back and forth. We've just been getting wind gust for the most part, but I think at last check the highest wind gust, or the strongest rather, was 52 mile per hour winds. And so for that reason, many businesses here in downtown Fayetteville, as I've been talking about earlier in the shows, this is the first. We're boarding up. We've got sandbags here. Again, a lot of small businesses here, this is their livelihood. They're taking this stuff seriously, getting the sandbags out, boarding up. We saw most of that yesterday and throughout the week. Businesses, again, taking this seriously here. So we're going to keep an update update for you on conditions. And as you can see, the rain is starting to pick up. The wind gusts of 52 miles per hour is the highest recorded that we've had so far. We're going to keep you updated on those conditions. Of course, you can tweet me conditions of where you're at, what you're seeing. Of course, stay safe out there. Morgan, ABC11. We'd love to see your pictures and your videos. Keep us updated. Back to you in the studio.
Morgan Norwood in Fayetteville. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. All right, the area that tends to flood when we get heavy rain is Crabtree Valley Mall, but they've really taken some steps to try to prevent that this time.
In fact, yesterday they blocked off that parking area that tends to get flooded every time there's a big heavy rain. Let's go to Anthony Wilson. He's right at the edge of Crabtree Valley Mall to bring us up to date from there. Anthony?
Well, I'm at the edge, John, but not at the mall anymore. I'm at the edge of Crabtree Creek, which is creates the problem that you mentioned at the mall when it rains really heavily. We are under an overpass here, under a bridge, protected from the weather. So there's wind and a little rain falling. If you can hear what sounds like dripping water, that's from the roadway above us. That said, take a look. That is the level at this moment of Crabtree Creek. As you can see, it has a way to go. I'd say we're probably about a dozen feet or so above the current level of that creek. But bear in mind, there is a sign on this greenway that warns people when it's inclement weather that this could rise and cover the actual walkway. So consider that when it's just hard rain, what you see there rises at least a dozen feet and covers this area. And you're looking now at an indication of the breeze. In fact, I'll call it breeze at this point because we don't have the really heavy wind. But when it does come, when the gusting winds and the heavy rain come that are spurred by the hurricane, things could change here dramatically. And that's another reason why people are saying, be aware if you are in the Crabtree Valley Mall area, don't park in that deck that's close to the creek, because on a good day when it's raining hard, this creek turns ugly, gets high, overwashes the pavement. And if it's going to be the way we see it's been in New Bern, in our area, sooner or later, you don't want to play with this. You want to give this area some wide berth. Now, if you're going to go out and exercise today, we'll be here underneath this bridge trying to stay out of your way, but get it in early, because when it does rain hard, it could get pretty dangerous and hazardous here. And we're live next to Crabtree Creek in Raleigh. Anthony Wilson, ABC11 Eyewitness News.
All right, Anthony, we'll be checking back with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Anthony. Brand new video now from New Bern, where it's a critical situation for a lot of people there. This is extensive surge, flooding homes, apartments underwater. Just looked at their Twitter page for the city of New Bern, and this was a couple of hours ago now, mind you, and they're saying that they have 2 out-of-state FEMA teams here for swift water rescue, 150 awaiting rescue in New Bern. The latest one we had was 34 cases involving 122 people. They're saying, we are coming to get you. You may need to move up to the 2nd story or to your attic, but we are coming to get you. This is what's going on in New Bern.
And we have some more new video. Often with floods, you get this, fires. This is a house up in flames in New Bern. We don't believe anybody was injured in this fire, but it is a pretty dramatic video that came into us earlier today.
All right, take a look at this. This is in Wilmington now. This is a gas station awning that has fallen over. We saw one earlier, and I'm not sure if that was the same one, but we actually saw one teetering and then falling over. I think this is another one. So this happened at 2 gas stations. So Topsail was the first one. That's right. Thank you from our producer, Natasha. But this is from Wilmington area, where you see this gas station awning has just toppled over in the high winds. And really, when we saw Anna Rivera just a few minutes ago, the winds were really picking up and the rain. And it's the first sign that I've seen of intense rain in one of our live shots. And wind.
All right, and if we start losing power here in our area, we will always be here for you. You'll be able to get the latest information from ABC11 when we simulcast on area radio stations. You'll hear us on K97.5, the big 95.7, WKML, Old School 107.7 Jams, and several others as well. So we'll have that information for you on the radio as well.
All right, and you talked about power outage, 280,000. 76 customers without power at last check.
And that's over 250,000 so far, and there were estimates that up to 3 million could go without power. So that would not be good. Yeah, we saw. I thought Anna Rivera's shot was great because they are seeing the eye wall arrive now, and we'll show that to you on radar in just a moment. I've updated this graphic. I also just tweeted it out, and I also put it on Facebook, because this is the question by far I'm getting the most. How will this affect me? So we went through all the different counties. And I've updated the wind gusts here. So in the northern county, South Hill down to Roxborough, Person County over to northern Northampton and Halifax counties, 3 to 5 inches of rain. We're talking wind gusts could be 30 to 40 miles an hour. We slide down into this orange zone, moderate impacts from Halifax down into Lewisburg. This one we're talking Wake Forest, northern Wake County, Butner, Durham, Chapel Hill, Pittsburgh, and Siler City. 5 to 10 inches of rain. Winds will go 20 to 40 miles an hour. That's sustained winds. And then we could see gusts 50, maybe even 60 miles an hour in the southern part of that orange area. Now, once you get into the red area, 10 to 15 inches of rain from Pinehurst to Sanford to Lillington on up toward Tarboro. 30 to 50 mile an hour sustained winds, and gusts could go 60 plus miles an hour as you get down into Lillington and Smithfield. And then when you get into the purple area, that's the highest impact zone. We'll see extreme impacts on life with significant threats to both life and property. 10 to 20 inches of rain, winds 50 to 70 miles per hour, and those gusts could go above 75 miles an hour. That's why some of these places are in hurricane warnings. You could see sustained winds 74 miles an hour in some of those spots. Here's the 5 a.m. update on Hurricane Florence, the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Still located 25 miles east of Wilmington. It is drifting west at about 5 to 10 miles an hour, moving west-northwest at 6 is the official movement. As we look at the latest plot from the National Hurricane Center by lunchtime today, it is on land. It is west of Wilmington. It'll be drawing up very heavy rainfall into the Wilmington area. You can see the northern areas. It could drift north. If that does, that means more wind impact for Fayetteville. If it drifts to the southern part of this line, that would take the higher winds and keep them further to the south. By tomorrow at lunchtime, it is in South Carolina, possibly North Carolina still getting out around Charlotte, but it looks like tomorrow at lunchtime we'll still be feeling rain impacts from this. And then finally, as we get to Sunday into Monday, it pulls west enough the rain shuts off and it works off to the north. Here's the latest live radar image from First Alert Doppler, our most powerful radar in the Carolinas, showing the showers now. Northampton to Halifax, just some hit or miss showers. Heavier rain right now in Wilson and northern Wayne County, extending down to Bentonville, then Vans Cross